It's the good memories that stay with you and gets people through their struggles. But it's also the mistakes you made that haunt you forever. I'm the one who chose to join you back then. I didn't know what I was capable of. That's all there is to it. I gotta use what time I have left to set things straight. I don't have the luxury of doing anything else.
So recently, we just got news that Persona 3 Reloaded, a remake of the original Persona 3 that came out in 2006, is releasing for the PlayStation, the Xbox, and Windows platforms on February 2nd, 2024. So this is a huge deal. For those of you not in the know, Persona 3 was the very first Persona game that started the trend or the visual style that we really start to see in a lot of the later games. It ran on the same engine as Persona 4 and is a core pinnacle stone in the overall progression of popularity the franchise has over in the Western sphere. Persona 3 is essentially like the missing link. You can't really talk about Persona or modern Persona without looking at Persona 3, because so much of what we think about as far as the gameplay loop of Persona games started with Persona 3. The visual direction, the musical styles, the sound effects, so many things. So to get an updated version of the game that looks really fucking gorgeous, I mean, take a look at this freaking game. These screenshots had my mouth on the floor with how beautiful some of these characters look. Like getting to see Yukari and Junpei and Mitsuru looking the way that they do is such an amazing feeling, because the original Persona 3 was really starting to get dated in terms of its visual look. If you have a big ass flat screen HD TV and you try to like boot up Persona 3 on that, it's going to not look that great. It's not going to have that like same level of visual fidelity that people really got into when they first played the game. You take a look at it and now you've got like stretched pixels, you can see a lot of the visual flaws, and it's still a great game. It's just as time goes on, you're starting to sort of see the cracks and you're starting to see how old it actually is. So this update, I think, will do wonders for getting a lot of people who are probably turned off by that visual look of the original Persona 3 into the series. So to answer the question I posed in the title, should you be excited for the new Persona game? I personally think so. I think you should be very excited, despite what some people on Twitter.com will say about it not having a lot of content that was added in the re-releases, such as the FES version of the game with the Answer storyline and the Persona 3 portable female character called FemC. You have to understand, with the amount of things they're doing with this game, essentially taking the initial concept, the concept of Persona 3, and rebuilding it from the ground up. Having all of that extra content on top would be great, but I can understand why they didn't put it in, given how much that content actually is. If you want me to talk more about the idea of the FemC in Persona, you can let me know in the comments below. I do find it to be an interesting topic and I have my opinions on it, but overall, my main point I want to say here, yes, is you should be excited for the game. I think it's going to be great. It looks visually nice. It looks like it's going to stay true to the vision of what Persona 3 is, while also bringing it up to date for a modern player base, you know, really cleaning it up visually, potentially changing little bits of combat to like make it more palatable to people. I am especially really excited for the game because even though it may not sound like it, I have actually never gotten to the end of Persona 3. I've gotten really far into the games, right? Really far in, but actually getting to the point of beating the game was something I actually really struggled with for quite some time. And it's really crazy to think about because I'd been interested in Persona for a really fucking long time. I can think all the way back to 2012 and shit, just being interested in the concept of, oh, this is a very anime aesthetic centric game with a lot of flair and intricate style and stuff like that. The kinds of things you didn't really see in Western games and stuff. As during this time period, I was really getting into more niche JRPGs and stuff like that. Now, it may sound weird for me to call Persona niche today, but back in like 2012, 2013, Persona was not the juggernaut that it is today, right? It was still this obscure thing that if you went out online and you like mentioned it to somebody, they probably wouldn't know what the fuck you were talking about. In general, Atlus as a company was, while bigger than a lot of other JRPG studios, was still like relatively in the background. They weren't like Square Enix level, the way more people think of them today, right? So this was like my very first introduction to this more Japanese style of game, where it's anime, it's more really heavy into contemporary Japanese culture and things of that nature. So to finally get to touch this game again in a revitalized form, it gives me an opportunity to really push through and actually beat the game once again. And yeah, tell me what you think about Persona 3 Reloaded, and if you think the game's gonna be great. Right now we don't have that much information on the game outside of visually what it looks like and how they've rebuilt it from the ground up. So I'm really interested to hear whether you are excited for the game and what you think about it, and I'm looking forward to making my next video. Thanks for listening, and I hope I didn't come off too fucking stiff. Later.